One reads about a case where one was entangled in a transaction involving non-existent property or property that has so many buyers or even property that has some kind of legal tussle. Now, despite the numerous numbers of cases that we get to hear of, some Kenyans are still getting entangled despite the fact that there are laws that actually protect you. We find out more.
Walking in Nairobi, one is sometimes amazed at the high number of "this property is not for sale" signs. From the leafy suburbs to low-income neighborhoods, there always seems to be the danger of one's vacant plot, even if it is fenced off, being sold without the owner's knowledge.
If a person is looking for any property, you have to consult somebody who knows where the property is. And these are normally called brokers. Therefore, you have to look for somebody who is genuine, somebody who is registered, and somebody who has a good reputation. Probably might be introduced by somebody who has been served by the same person or broker. Or you may even go through reading newspapers. But mostly, people who are conned, sometimes they go through newspapers when you don't know somebody. So it is important also before you go into buying of anything, you should know the person whom you are dealing with.
In most cases, this is contributed to by the ignorance of the buyers. However, buyers should always observe a thorough background check of the property and the seller before entering into any transaction.
Sometimes we are ignorant, we don't know. We just operate blindly. And at the end of the day, before you realize you are conned, you have lost your money. If you start following, you realize you may even spend more money following the case. And most of the people will end up just forgetting and letting everything go. So it's important, like now, for instance, if you want to buy a property, according to the procedure, you should know the property, you do a due diligence with the lands, because they have the records of all. And after you do that, the government will give you a certificate of such, which will show you that this property belongs to so-and-so, and it will be stamped and also sealed. After that, that document is what you use now probably to purchase, even if it's through a broker. You'll be able to purchase. After you purchase, then it becomes yours. But sometimes that has been happening in Kenya. You will get a certificate of such from the government itself. But when you buy, eventually you may realize the property didn't even belong to that. Yet, you have a document that has been well stamped and approved by the government.
The law provides for a search of property through relevant authorities such as the Ministry of Lands or the Registrar of Companies if the seller is a company. This enables one to confirm that the land is clean and the property is registered. The law also protects buyers who find themselves entangled in a fake transaction. For example, if a seller falsely sells property that had already been sold to a second buyer, the buyer will take good title to the property.
A very good example with me. When I started having interest with the properties, I bought a plot through a lawyer. After paying everything, I came to realize the property that he was selling to us, the owner didn't want to sell to us. So after paying all the amount of money, we lost almost everything. And we started following. And you know the processes of court procedures in Kenya. Up to date, we have never recovered our money. So it still depends on who you are dealing with. There are people who will tell you go to lawyers. And when probably you are not more involved about how lawyers operate, others may even call you. Not even the owner of the property, but the person who is in between the owner and the property.
However, the law makes exception to this, especially if the buyer is confirmed to have been part of the false transaction in a case where the certificate or title deed has been acquired illegally, unprocedurally, or through corruption. Further, the buyer is still protected in fraud cases because the parties with a claim to ownership of the property still have a case of action against the party that made the fake sale.
Everybody wants a home, wants a property like land. So at the end of the day, you must buy a land, you must buy a home or build a home. So what we only need to do is to be very transparent and be responsible as individuals. I always say, land is not like soap, whereby you buy, use and it finishes. It is something that you sell to somebody and it remains until generations to come. Therefore, you should be very cautious something that is genuine, something that will not bring problems after some years.
Regrettably, though, Kenya does not have a law that specifically requires the seller to give full disclosure of information. This is why the need for searches is emphasized. If the issue is fraud, then the buyer has the right to sue the seller.
Once again, we'd love to thank you for having been part of this bulletin. Remember, you can SMS us your thoughts to 20058. The question we were asking, and we're still asking this evening, is: do you think the security situation in the country has improved? Do you think the security situation in the country has improved? Send your SMS and your thoughts to 20058, and we get to sample them during our subsequent bulletins. Well, that's it from our news desk. Thank you very much for making time. My name is Wavinya Wanyasa. Good evening.